The secret World War II window trick that made homes, well, almost bulletproof. London, 1940. The sky burns, the ground shakes, and inside millions of homes, glass becomes a weapon. When bombs exploded, it wasn't always the blast that killed, it was the windows. Shards turned into flying daggers. Living rooms became shrapnel chambers, and suddenly something as ordinary as a pane of glass became a matter of life and death. But then, almost overnight, windows across Britain changed. Not replaced, not reinforced with steel, just marked. Thin, criss-crossing strips appeared on glass panes everywhere. Houses, schools, shops, hospitals, tape, simple tape. But here's the question. Was this just psychological comfort? Or was it a genuine wartime innovation that made homes almost bulletproof? When the Blitz began in 1940, German bombers didn't just destroy buildings, they weaponized pressure. An explosion sends out a shockwave, an invisible wall of compressed air moving faster than a hurricane. When that pressure hits glass, the glass doesn't politely crack. It detonates. Fragments fly inward at high speed. And because windows are everywhere, casualties multiplied inside homes thought to be safe. Hospitals reported deep lacerations. Children were struck while hiding under tables. Even buildings far from direct impact suffered injuries from shattered panes. So the British government had a dilemma. How do you protect millions of windows cheaply, quickly, and with limited wartime resources? Steel was rationed. Concrete was prioritised for bunkers and airfields. Replacing every window? Impossible. They needed something fast, something scalable, something almost absurdly simple. Civil defence authorities issued guidance. Apply adhesive tape to your windows, not randomly. In deliberate patterns, most commonly, an X from corner to corner, sometimes a grid, sometimes a starburst pattern. Instructions were distributed through pamphlets and radio broadcasts. Families climbed chairs and carefully stretched strips across fragile panes. From the street, it looked like Britain had wrapped itself in bandages. But here's where it gets interesting. The tape didn't stop the glass from breaking. It couldn't. So why do it? Glass under blast pressure fractures along stress lines. When untreated, those fractures separate instantly, releasing dozens, sometimes hundreds, of sharp projectiles. Tape changes the behaviour, not by preventing cracks, but by holding fragments together long enough to reduce fragmentation velocity. Think of it like this. Instead of a grenade, you get a cracked shield. The adhesive absorbs a fraction of the kinetic energy. It redistributes stress across the pane. And most importantly, it keeps shards from scattering at lethal angles. Tests conducted during the war showed that taped windows produced fewer high-velocity splinters compared to untreated glass. Not invincible, but measurably safer. And in wartime, safer saves lives. Here's where historians, really start to debate. Some argue that the tape's effectiveness was probably overstated. Later studies suggested that against very powerful blasts, tape made minimal difference. The glass still failed. So was this a real defence strategy, or just morale theatre? Because Consider this. Governments during wartime don't just manage weapons, they manage fear. Seeing tape on your windows did something powerful. It said, we are not helpless, we are prepared, we are fighting back, even at home. And that psychological reinforcement? Honestly, it matters. When citizens believe they can act, panic drops, order holds. Tape became both shield and symbol. Now, about that word, bulletproof. Let's be precise here. Tape does not stop bullets. It does not stop direct bomb impact. It does not turn glass into armor plating. But against secondary blast effects, against flying shards, it reduced lethality. In modern terms, we'd call it mitigation engineering. Low cost, rapid deployment, mass adoption. And here's the twist. The principle didn't disappear after the Second World War. Today, high-security buildings use shatter-resistant film, a technologically advanced descendant of that same idea. Instead of cloth tape, they apply clear polyester layers bonded with powerful adhesives. When struck by explosion or gunfire, the glass may crack, but it holds together. Airports, government buildings, banks, all using a refined version of a wartime improvisation. But there's something, that's rarely discussed. Taping windows made homes darker. Crosshatch glass reduced clarity, right? Blackout curtains were already mandatory at night to avoid guiding bombers. Now, windows were webbed during the day too. Britain quite literally lived behind lines, a nation visually divided by war. And yet, those lines became a symbol of resilience. Photographs from the era, well, they show children playing beside taped windows, shopkeepers serving customers behind criss-cross panes, life continuing, fragile but defiant. Imagine, just for a moment, a modern city under similar threat. Would you tape your windows? Experts today say basic household tape offers limited protection against high-powered blasts. Modern glass compositions behave differently, and in some cases improper taping can even create larger, heavier shards. But in resource-limited emergencies, the principle still holds. Containing fragments reduces injuries. The real evolution has been in materials science, laminated glass, polymer interlayers, blast-resistant frames, all descendants of a desperate wartime hack. History often celebrates the dramatic, the tanks, the aircraft, the code breakers, but survival sometimes hinges on something smaller, a strip of tape, a few crossed lines, a community following instructions under sirens. The WWII window trick wasn't magic, it wasn't invulnerability, it was adaptation. And maybe that's the real secret. Not bulletproof glass, but bulletproof thinking. The ability to look at an ordinary object and ask, how can this save us? Next time you see old photographs of taped windows, don't dismiss them as superstition. See them for what they were, a nation engineering survival, one pane at a time.